evidence that they did that is directed by Vladimir Putin. And that's looking backwards. Let's look forward. We are still under live attack by the government of Russia, and President Trump has failed to deter the Russians from continuing those attacks. So we can Monday morning quarterback. We can look back and say, why did we miss these attacks when they first started? What did Obama do or not do correctly after he got evidence, the intelligence that was available at the time about these attacks? But that doesn't change the fact, to Director Coates's point, that we're still being attacked. Everybody in the intelligence community agrees about that. DHS agrees on that. Congress agrees on that. And we have not figured out a way to stop that attack. So this meeting that's happening in Helsinki, Christie, is not a meeting between two heads of state. At this point, it is a meeting between an attacker, Vladimir Putin, and a witting victim at this point, Donald Trump.
And it's a meeting that a lot of Democrats are watching. We're getting word right now that a letter was sent to the president just this morning by senior Senate Democrats. It was signed by Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, and they are asking the president not to go to this meeting alone. They want him to have somebody with him. Your thoughts on that? Who would he take, first of all?
Well, typically he would take the national security advisor, and I staff President Obama on a lot of meetings, including meetings with Vladimir Putin. And there's typically a note taker from each side in the room and one other person, largely because you want one other account of what happened in that room, so that if the message comes out differently from the other side, you have someone else that can say that's not what happened. And you have to ask the question, why wouldn't President Trump want someone else in the room? What is he going to say in front of Vladimir Putin that he's not comfortable saying in front of his national security to the meeting with him?
Okay, and also I want to point out in this letter, these senior Democrats also asking that when he does take this meeting with Putin, that he presses him to make sure that there is extradition of these 12 Russian intelligence officials that have been indicted by Mueller. We need to remember, back in February, there were 13 others that were also indicted. And as I understand it, Russia has not even acknowledged that at all. What would be different this time around? I mean, is there anything you could say to Putin that would prompt him to extradite these men?
I think that's a hard no. There's no chance that Vladimir Putin is going to extradite these individuals to the United States. I don't even think we have an extradition treaty with Russia. And look, Vladimir Putin took Edward Snowden into Russia. He's not giving him back. He's not giving these Russians back. But there is something else that we can do, and that is levy financial sanctions on these individuals, like we did with the previous Russians that were indicted by the Department of Justice. And frankly, try to push other countries to put similar sanctions on members of the Russian government that are involved in this election meddling, to really make their lives more difficult, to restrict their travel, and to restrict their access to the international financial system. That is one step we could take.
So President Trump, of course, has blamed President Obama, but President Trump is now president, so the onus falls on him to make that happen. We don't know of a plan that's being put in place to address the hackings that we've been seeing, but how confident are you that anything could be put in place in the 4 months' time that we have before midterms hit, in addition, and then looking even further than that to 2020?
I think we're way behind the eight ball. I think that we've heard various officials from different executive branch agencies, as well as members of Congress, say that we are woefully unprepared when it comes to state-level infrastructure and cyber hacks. So at this point, I think we're behind the curve. And then again, we have a president, when he's going to meet with the president of Russia, who just undermines any deterrent strategy that we have to tell Putin that he can't do this or there will be costs. And remember, in national security, you need strong defense, so shoring up our infrastructure, but you also need deterrence to lay out the costs for continued misbehavior. It needs to be that dual-track approach.
And real quickly, I have 10 seconds. What can President do to make this meeting a success with Putin?
I think he can tell him that he knows what's going on and lay out strong financial costs and diplomatic costs if it continues.
All righty. Samantha Vinograd, we appreciate your insight as always. Thank you.
A prominent administration official who supported immigration is no longer working at the White House. Jennifer Arangio is the latest senior official to leave the National Security Council since John Bolton took over. Her departure follows months of fighting with administration officials over the admission of refugees into the country. The president has slashed the number of refugees allowed into the U.S. to 45,000 a year, the lowest number in decades.
Still ahead, the 12 boys and soccer coach rescued from that cave in Thailand. They're recovering well, and they're actually sending messages to their rescuers from the hospital. We're going to hear what they have to say.
Plus, President Trump's visit with Queen Elizabeth picked apart on social media. A royal commentator weighs in on the gaffes and faux pas.
19 minutes past the hour right now, and the 12 boys and their coach who were rescued from that Thailand cave, they're recovering in a hospital. They're expected to be released now next week, and health officials say they are all healthy, both physically and psychologically.
The boys were sitting up in their beds and even sent messages to their rescuers.
Hello, I'm Adun. Now I'm very fine. I'm very thank you so healthy. Thank you so much.
Doctors advised parents not to allow the media to interview the boys for at least a month as they acclimate back to their normal lives. They're still worried about the impact this may have on them after they are discharged.
Well, President Trump's visit with Queen Elizabeth getting some very different reviews here in the U.S. and in Britain, let's say.
Yeah, just moments ago, First Lady Melania Trump tweeted her thanks to the monarch for yesterday's visit, calling it an honor. There are some who criticized the president for what they saw as missteps. And earlier we spoke with royal commentator Richard Fitzwilliam, who said any sights or slights